Okay, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yes, Kishori and Ishwar, your internet is unstable. Mine also might be unstable. So let me know if I keep breaking up, then if I keep freezing. Am I freezing for everybody? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Prabhuji.
Okay, so Ishwari, I think it might be your side, huh? But if it's my side, let me know, and I'll just switch to a different internet. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again on another Sunday, 10th Sunday of the Sanatan Dharma course. And last 2 weeks, we've been looking at different aspects, or 3 weeks, we looked at the material nature, the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. And then last week, we looked at the 3 aspects of Godhead, the different aspects, Brahman, the Paramatma, and Bhagwan. And that leads us onto the yoga ladder. So this is a pretty important topic, as they all are, in fact. But the yoga ladder is how we get connected to the Supreme Lord. So far, we've talked about all the different aspects of Sanatan Dharma, material aspects, the spiritual aspects. But now we see how the spirit soul can connect to the Supreme Lord. Yoga actually means to connect with the Supreme Lord. That's what yoga means. Nowadays, of course, yoga is a bit of a fad in Western culture. Everybody likes to do yoga. It's good for health and good for mind. But the most important factor is ignored. What really makes yoga yoga is not included, and that is the factor of spirituality, the factor of connection with the Supreme. So without that connection, it's just a mental exercise or a physical exercise. That's all it is. It's not really yoga. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. So what is this yoga ladder? Let's have a look at it. Okay. We have the bottom of the pile, which is animalistic life. If all we are doing in our life is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, then that does not, that is equated to the animal life. Animals eat, sleep, mate, and defend. And if that's all we're doing, we're no better than the animals. So that is considered to be the bottom of the pile. That's almost like a sinful life. And we don't want to be in this category at all. And I'm sure we are not. And where does that lead to? That leads to lower planetary systems or species, even hellish life, potentially, if one is sinful enough. So that's the bottom of the pile, bottom of the yoga ladder. Next step up is doing karma, good karma, karma kanda, fruitive work. What does fruitive work mean? Basically means doing sacrifices which are prescribed in the Vedas to please the demigods in order to get something from them. So fruitive means I am going to do something for something in return. Right? Regulated sense gratification according to the scriptures. So for example, the scriptures allows one to live in householder life and engage in some gratification of the senses. But it's all done in accordance with the scriptures. Like householders or married couples. Actually, it says my internet is unstable. Let me just switch computers. Okay, so no, just do something else. 1 second, sorry. Okay, so karma kand, performing rituals for heavenly sense and gratification. So karma kand includes doing very pious activities like building hospitals or feeding the poor, considered to be very pious activities. But because they're not in connection with the Supreme Lord, those are not spiritual activities. They're within the bounds of this world. Okay. What's the next step up? So we have the animal life, living like animals, which probably accounts for minimum of, say, 80–90% of the world, unfortunately. And then we have the karma kanda, where we are a little bit, we're not sinful, but we are still on the material plane, not connected to the Supreme Lord in any way. We may be connected to the Devatas by performing the rituals according to Vedic scriptures. And what is the destination of somebody who does karma kanda activities? Either they come back to earth or they may attain heaven. But the attainment of heaven is for a short period of time, to enjoy the good karma that we have practiced. When the in the yoga ladder at all. And then we have karma yoga. So first time we're going to come across the word karma, yoga, sorry. And nishkam karma yoga. There's a little difference between the two. Karma yoga basically means one who does his prescribed duties, but he's not attached to the fruits of those duties. So he does whatever he's meant to do, but if he's successful, great. If he's not successful, great. He's not attached to the fruits. He's renounced to the results of his activities. This is quite a strong place to be, because one will be always peaceful, right? Because one is not going to be anxious. If one is successful, one is not going to be overly jubilant. If one is fails in doing the duty, or the results don't turn out to be as we like, you're not going to be too unhappy about it. It's always steady. Now, what is the difference between karma yoga and nishkam karma yoga? Nishkam karma yoga is where we attach those fruits to the Lord. So in karma yoga, we're not attached to the fruits. But in nishkama yoga, those fruits are attached to the Lord. So we're doing our activities for the pleasure of the Lord, or we give the benefits to the Lord. Slight difference, big difference in one sense. Because karma yoga may not have the concept of God included in it. One can be still renounced from the results of one's activities and not be attached to God, not even think about God. That is karma yoga. But when we bring God into the equation, that becomes nishkam karma yoga. So we are giving the fruits, or we are attaching the fruits to the Supreme Lord. And that's a great place in one sense, because one will attain either a very good family in the next life, or the heavenly planets, or the planets of the forefathers, the Prajapatis. The idea is one has a platform to eventually ascend into the spiritual world here, because one is performing activities which he is not attached to in this material world. So this is a good place to be. It's not the best, but it's a good place to start. The risk is, of course, you go to Swargalok, heavens, you enjoy that good karma is finished, you back onto earth again. So that's animal life, karma kanda, karma yoga. What's the next ladder up? So this is all in stages. We're looking at what is better than karma yoga. Now, Nishkarma yoga, I have to say, is very close to Bhakti. We'll talk about that distinction in a little while. Gyan yoga, that's the next level. So here, one has renounced the fruits of one's activities, and one is gaining a lot of knowledge about Brahman, what we talked about last time. One is also very austere. And what is the position? Where do these yogis end up? They end up in the Brahman, the lowest conception of God. Because, this is just a generalization. It's not every case is going to be like this, just a generalization. Those who are jnanis, Gyan Yoga, practicing Gyan Yoga, they're interested in accumulating knowledge. They will read, they will meditate, but they will not necessarily focus beyond the effulgence of the Lord. They will be enamored by the effulgence of the Lord. And perhaps they may be stuck at that place. Again, it's better than karma yoga in one sense, because they're acting with in a very renounced way, and they're gaining knowledge about God, perhaps the Brahman concept of God. So what's higher than that? Dhyan Yoga or Astanga Yoga, right? This is where one is renouncing again the fruits of one's labor, one is gaining knowledge. But now you're controlling the mind, dhyan. Up to now, you didn't need to necessarily even control the mind. Now at dhyan yoga stage, you're controlling the mind, you're meditating. Dhyan means meditation. You're meditating on what? Generally the Paramatma. Again, it's a generalization. And Astanga Yoga is similar. And we'll talk about the processes of this in a second. What is their destination? Either the Brahman or Paramatma conception of life. And what does that mean, Paramatma conception of life? It means they'll attain the spiritual world. If one is doing Dhyan Yoga at the perfectional level, one may be able to attain the spiritual world, but may not have a direct relationship with God. Maybe like grass in the spiritual world, or some neutral relationship, just watching and enjoying the activities in the spiritual, but not taking part. So, but this is very, very difficult process in this age. This Dhyan Yoga is a subject matter of one chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6. Because Arjuna wanted to go to the forest and not fight. So Krishna said, okay, you want to go to the forest? No problem. This is what you have to do in order to go to the forest and connect with God, with me. Dhyan Yoga. And 6th chapter talks about the process of Dhyan Yoga. And after Krishna has explained to him the process, Arjuna said, impossible, can't do it. It's easier for me to control the wind than to control my mind in the way you've explained it. So Krishna basically said, yes, you're right, it is difficult. But to control the mind, it is possible by practice and detachment. But Krishna also acknowledges that Dhyan Yoga is very difficult to do, especially in Kali Yuga. So what is the process? Here it is. This is a small idea of the process of Dhyan Yoga. Overview. It's according to the Patanjali Yoga system. And the Patanjali Yoga system is actually one of the authorized yoga systems, but it's in relation to Ashtanga Yoga. You have to follow these stages. There's stages of Hatha Yoga, which is Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and then finally Samadhi. What does this all involve? I can give you a theoretical idea, a brief theoretical idea, because I've not practiced this ever, so I can't tell you in practice what it's like. Basically, in Yama, you're just controlling the senses, controlling your feelings, not lying or stealing, or all those sort of things, not hurting anyone. And then Niyama is where you are, here you're stopping anything negative. Niyama, you're taking up positivity, purity, contentment. You're doing tapasya, swadhyaya, you're doing studies, and then you're surrendering on it. And then you move on to asana, where this is where current Western yoga systems, and probably the Eastern yoga system as well, simply focus on the asana or the pranayam. That's it, nothing else. That's not yoga. That's just a bodily and a mental exercise. That's all it is. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme Lord. You have to take these further steps to make it yoga. You have to connect to the spiritual aspect of it in order for it to be yoga. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Anyway, so asana, different poses. This actually will help the yogi control the mind, because his health, his bodily functions will be in line with giving him this peace of mind. Pranayam is different breathing exercises, controlling the vital force, and in that way helping control the mind. Then moving further, Pratyahara, where you try to restrict the use of the senses, this sense of smell, hearing, touching, seeing, etc. You restrict the functions of the material senses. You're controlling yourself. Very difficult to do in our circumstances. Dharana, concentrating. You can tell concentration in this age of Kali Yuga is very difficult. I mean, if we try to even focus for a few minutes on a certain subject, we will struggle because our level of concentration is so strong. Meditation, dhyan. What to speak of meditation? You try to chant the jap, Hare Krishna Mahamantra for 5 minutes and see how many times the mind goes away from the mantra and goes into something else, some material aspect of our life. Very, very difficult. But anyway, and then you have samadhi. Samadhi means you're totally focused on, nothing can get in the way of your connection with the Supreme. Spiritual absorption. So this is Ashtanga Yoga. And practically speaking, Arjun basically said to the Lord, impossible, can't do it. So let's move on. The final stage, the last stage. Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is where we are performing loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. The difference between Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is a slight difference. Nishkam Karma Yoga is actually an amazing place to be, where you're not attached to the fruits, but not just not attached, but you are attaching the fruits to the Supreme Lord. You're doing things for the Lord. You're working for the Lord. The difference between Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is that here the Lord is completely in the center of one's life. It's not that you're working and you're giving that fruits to the Lord, but you're actually working for the Lord directly. You're actually engaging in performing one of the 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga, which we'll talk about, I think, next week. Yeah, next week. So Bhakti Yoga is, for us, I'll just cut straight to the chase. Bhakti Yoga is the most important yoga for us. And I'll explain to you why in a minute. And it's very, very easy. Dhyan Yoga gives so many obstacles. Gyan Yoga will make, we have to study about the Lord, so much study. And that knowledge may be of something that's not necessarily the full aspect of Godhead. Nishkam Karma Yoga, yes, you have to, you do your duties, but then you have to not be attached to the fruits. That's so hard. Because who goes to work and if they don't give you any money, would you go back? No. You go to work, you get paid, and you become attached to those wages. I did the work, mine. But Bhakti Yoga takes one on a different platform, different level altogether. And we'll see in the next session how that happens. Right. So why is this Bhakti Yoga so important? Right? It's actually regarded to be a direct process from karma, which is selfishness, to prema, which is real love. Prema means where you unconditionally give yourself in love to the Supreme. Now, there is a process, of course, of karma yoga and then going into Bhakti Yoga, which will take us into prema. But actually, we can, wherever we are in this ladder, there's nothing to stop us going straight to Bhakti Yoga. This is like the elevator. Escalator. Or even elevator. You can take the staircase, the yoga ladder staircase, step by step by step. Or you can take a direct route. So this is essentially the yoga ladder in very brief terms. Then you got the lowest of the, if not even on the yoga ladder at all, animalistic life. Then you got karma kanda, where you do things for something in return. You pray to demigods. You want benefits to be given to us by those demigods. And then you got karma yoga, which has 2 aspects to it: karma itself, karma yoga, and then nishkam karma yoga, where you're not. Karma yoga means you're not attached to the fruits, but nishkam karma yoga, you're attaching the fruits to the Supreme Lord. Then you got dhyan yoga, where you're accumulating lots of knowledge, which is not a bad thing in one sense. If one is reading Bhagavad Gita, is one in Dhyan Yoga? No, one is in Bhakti Yoga. Dhyan Yoga refers to where one is accumulating knowledge about what is the Lord, what is not the Lord. You're sort of trying to make this distinction. What is connected to the Lord, what is not connected. Whereas Bhagavad Gita takes you directly to the Lord. It connects you directly, straight away, immediately. So Gyan Yoga, accumulating knowledge. Then you got Dhyan Yoga, where you are, or Stanga Yoga, where you're using the yoga process by controlling the bodily functions and the mental functions to become close to the Lord. But again, the maximum you're going to reach is the Paramatma stage. Whereas if in Bhakti Yoga, you have a direct, loving, devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and in the next life, if one has perfected one's bhakti, one will be in the spiritual world, engaging with the Supreme Lord on a one-to-one basis, according to one's desire how to serve the Lord. This is the most extraordinary thing about bhakti. And what does Krishna say about all of these yoga ladders, right? What does he have to say? Because we always want to refer it back to what the Lord says and what he wants. So here it is.
Yoginamapi sarvesham matkatarantara atmana shatavam bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Translation: and of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united in me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
So there you go. This is where Krishna is talking about this transcendental loving service. This is right at the end of chapter 6, 47th verse. And this chapter, if you recall, talks about Dhyan Yoga, giving Arjuna the heavy process of Astanga Yoga. But at the end, Krishna says, of all yogis, the one who has great faith, abides in me, thinks of me, and renders bhakti, bhajate. He is most intimately united with me in yoga, and he's the highest of all. That is my opinion. So this is a really powerful statement. And this is why we recommend that one tries to follow the process of Bhakti Yoga. And next week, we'll go into the 9 different processes of Bhakti Yoga. And any one of those can liberate us, take us back to the Supreme Lord. Any one of those. So, very powerful. And this is just a very quick diametrical illustration. The topmost yogi, he has great faith in Krishna. He takes shelter in Krishna, always thinking of him. He renders service to Krishna. And this is regarded by Krishna himself to be the highest yoga. Even better than a yogi is a devotee who worships Krishna. So we can stop there and we can take questions. I can see there's one, Priti has asked. So in hellish or heavenly planets, there is no chance in remembering the eternal supreme being. If there is there such a story which relates to this? Very good question, Priti. Thank you for asking. Generally in hell, it's just suffering. Right? And when you're suffering, it's very difficult to remember the Lord. Even like on earth, if somebody doesn't have food in the bed, or a shelter above their heads, apart from the yogis who do it voluntarily, very difficult to think of God, actually cursing him because you're in that, miserable condition. In a hellish life, it's very, very difficult to remember the Lord, extremely difficult. And in heaven, there's just too much enjoyment. So generally speaking, there's just too much enjoyment. Enjoying so much that you forget God. And we know that here, when we're really enjoying ourselves, how many people thank God? Thank you, my Lord, for this. Very few.
And in heaven also, you look at Indra, he always goes to Brahma first, never to Vishnu. So, he doesn't think of Vishnu first. So it just shows a little bit that even they find it difficult to think of the Lord initially.
And in terms of stories where somebody may be able to remember the Lord, well, the Devatas, and you may have a story that you have in mind, I'm happy for you to share, but the Devatas, although when they encounter difficult situations, as Yanti said, they will approach Brahma, they may even approach Shiva, but they are natural devotees of the Lord. they're carrying out the functions allotted to them in terms of administrating this universe because of the Lord. And they do realize that ultimately. But they may not behave in a way that they constantly devoted to the Supreme Lord. They may behave in a little, especially Indra tends to have a little bit of a,
Right.
you know, a little bit of a behavior issue, you know, sometimes. So, but did you have a particular story in mind, Priti?
No, Prabhu, I didn't have a story in mind. Just I recall when somebody said that when Indra and other devas were in Lanka, they were probably praying to the Lord then to help them out of the situation, because there was nothing that could help them. But I was just more thinking about actually heavenly and hellish planets. Yeah, if there's been such stories for just general souls. Yeah. Because like I heard about that also when in Mahabharata, when Yudhishthir at the end of his life, you know, he sees certain people enjoying in heavenly planets and his brothers in hellish planets. But again, I don't know, that's just some lesson for him. So that's what, yeah.
True. And he was in a different sort of, he was again, natural devotee of the Lord, completely connected to Krishna. But as you said, there was lessons within those pastimes for us. Nothing comes to mind straight away of somebody who's gone to heaven or hell and develops bhakti, basically, is your question, I think, isn't it? Remembering the Supreme.
Yeah, just remembering the Supreme, yeah.
There will be examples, no doubt. There will be examples.
Okay.
I mean, the principal example is Narad Muni, that he is regarded to be one of the demigods, but because he's such a phenomenal devotee of the Lord, wherever he goes, even when he goes to the demigods, he's reminding them of Krishna. He's in a different ball game, isn't he? So, but there's always going to be examples, definitely.
Yeah, Narad Muni is different, I guess.
Yeah, there's natural devotee again.
Is he eternal?
Yeah, he is.
As Narad, yeah.
Okay.
As Narad Muni.
Because you say he's a Devata, but he's eternal.
Yes, because he can travel to the spiritual world. He's regarded to be one of the Devatas, but he's more because he can travel in his body to the spiritual world. So his body is spiritual.
Okay. Okay.
Nice, that's cool.
Thank you.
Ishwari and Kishori.
We have got 12 questions.
Whoa, go for it.
Some of them are from last week as well.
Okay. That's fine.
Why
and we are halfway through, we can go to Veda and then come back to you. Go for it, go for it.
Why does Maya make illusions?
Why does Maya
make illusions?
Make illusions. Maya means illusion. That's what Maya is.
That's a function.
That's her function. Yeah, that's good. So it's like, it's not that she makes illusion, but that's what she is. Naturally, she's a personality who
is really testing us all the time.
Yeah.
To see how fixed we are.
She's got a job, doesn't she? Job is gatehouse keeper. So she will stop us. She'll filter out the people who don't belong in the spiritual world and keep them here. That's her job. That's what Krishna's given her to do.
I see. If you worship an avatar of God, are you worshipping Bhagwan?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And some people are very attached to worshipping Lord Ramachandra, right? Very attached. Nrsimhadev. That's right.
Even Kurma. You do have devotees of Kurma in south of Bharat.
Yeah. And you can worship in fact, there was one devotee called, yes, that's it, Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, he was a devotee of Chaitanya.
Yeah, one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to him, Murari, stop chanting the name of Ram and start chanting the name of Krishna. Now, Murari was a little upset. Oh man, do I have to? But he loved Chaitanya so much. He said, okay. He couldn't sleep all night. And he came in the morning to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, I can't do it. I can't give up my Ram. I'm sorry. I know you're going to be upset with me, he said. And Chaitanya said, no, I'm not upset with you. You are Hanuman. And your attachment to Ram is very natural. I was just testing you. So it's absolutely fine to worship avatars.
I see. Who should you worship ultimately? Like if you aren't attached to any of them and you've just like come into this religion for example, who should you worship like ultimately? Like
ultimately, and at the beginning and in the middle, Krishna. Because he is the source of everything and everyone, including all the different avatars.
how do you realize Bhagwan?
How do you realize Bhagwan? That's a really good question. In this age of Kali Yuga, it is not easy because our memories are short. We get angry quickly. Our attention spans are not good. So the easiest and the best way of realizing God in this age of Kali Yuga is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. When you chant the holy names, and especially when we're paying attention, we're listening to God's names, and God's name and Him are not different from each other. This is the omnipresence of the Lord. He is present in His name. So when we chant Ram or Krishna, we're actually associating directly with the Lord, face to face. We might not be able to see it or realize it, but that's what's happening. So the more we chant in this age of Kali Yuga, the better we have a chance of realization of God. It's the easiest way.
In one of the last week's charts, why did the name Anirudh come twice?
Oh yeah, because he comes as the first quadruple and he comes back in the second quadruple. They're two different personalities. They have different functions. They got the same name. Although all incarnations of the Lord have many, many names attached to them. So I think we just picked Anirudh twice because that was his most common name. But they're two different persons, two different avatars of the Lord, having different functions.
Are animals spiritual in some way?
Animals spiritual?
Yeah.
Every living entity has a spirit soul, right? That's why the living entity, why the body is born, it grows for some time, stays for some time, and then dies. So animals have souls. There's some philosophies that believe that animals don't have souls, so it justifies eating them. But actually, animals have souls as well. But aren't they spiritual?
Yeah, like do they have more chance of like unlocking memories of God easier? Like will they follow the path of God easier than we would?
No, because the function of the animals is fourfold: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That's generally what they do. There are, however, stories in the Bhagavad Puran of Gajendra, the elephant, who remembered his past life when he was attacked by the crocodile. He remembered his life as Indradumna, and he recited a prayer which Indradumna used to chant to the Lord for protection. And Vishnu came and protected the elephant. So it's not that we exclude the possibility that animals can be spiritual, but generally speaking, they can only do four things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending.
Okay, and then we've reached the halfway point.
Oh, well done. Whether
I had two questions. The first one is, like, if you're scared, which yoga are we in?
Sorry, what was the question?
If we are scared, which yoga are we in?
If you're scared,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry to ask you this, who would you be scared of?
God.
Oh, I see. You're fearful of God. Actually, God is not somebody to be scared of. He's very, very loving. He's just like your father. Your father loves you so much. Your mother loves you so much, right? Well,
Yeah.
multiply that 1 billion trillion times. That's how much God loves you.
Okay.
So not somebody to fear, okay? No need to fear.
Okay, and my second question is, if we worship Lord Shiva, are we still worshipping Krishna in some way, as Lord Shiva is the avatar of Krishna?
Yes, it's not a bad thing to worship Lord Shiva. He's a really wonderful personality. And if somebody is worshipping Lord Shiva, if it's just for money, for example, right? I want something, I'm going to worship you, my Lord Shiva, please give it to me. That's probably not the best way to worship. Yeah? So, but if you worship Shiva, if you really like Shiva, you can say to him, my dear Lord Shiva, I really like you very much, but I see you are meditating so much. Who are you meditating on? And how can I get to know that person as well? I like to see you, I like to get to know you, but I like to get to know who you're meditating on as well. Because Lord Shiva actually meditates on the form of Supreme Lord. And if we're worshipping Shiva, in one sense, yes, we're worshipping Krishna as well, through Shiva. But we want to get it right. So we can ask Shiva, help us, guide us how to worship. And Lord Shiva is so kind. He will guide you.
Also, my dad says, like, if the Lord created you, you don't need to be fearful of anyone else or anything else, because God is the one who created us, and God is the one. If we God is going to also destroy us.
Yeah. But he'll never destroy us, right? Because God is very kind. What will destroy the body is an agent of God called time. Time destroys everything. But God protects us. In the Bhagavad Gita, he's got a fantastic verse. He says, for my devotees, whatever he has, I will preserve it. Whatever he doesn't have, I will give him. So he's really kind.
So what's the, like, if we are concentrating on our breathing while we are doing yoga or meditation, is that still spiritual or is it different?
Did you see the chart we did about the Ashtanga yoga, the different processes? If you see,
I wrote
okay,
down as well.
Okay. Oh, well done. If you're simply doing pranayam, if you're simply doing the breathing without thinking of God, then it's not complete. Yoga means connecting with God. So that connection is important, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions. My goodness. How old are you?
8 and 9.
Wow. Well done. Amazing. Okay. We've got a few minutes. So maybe Pari, would you like to share the link?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And in the meantime, we'll take questions.
Okay.
If that's okay with you, Ishwari Kishori.
No problem, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yeah, go for it.
I heard a story where a king turned into a deer, but he could go back to God. So is it possible, like, to go back to God from an animal body, like straight back to Godhead?
I'd say extremely unlikely. What happened to him, this is Maharaj Bharat. He remembered a deer at the end of his life. So in his next life, he was a deer. But luckily, because he was so close to becoming God conscious, God allowed him to remember his past life. So as a deer, he realized, oh my goodness, I was so close and I missed out. So he went to this where the sages lived. He would just spend time with them.
Eat the prasad.
He ate the prasad, listened to the katha. And then when he died as a deer, he was born as Jad Bharat. And as Jad Bharat, he remembered his two lives, as a deer and as a king. And he decided, right, I'm going to act dumb and stupid. So nobody will bother me. I will just focus on the Lord. I will not make the same mistake again. So this is what he did. He just behaved in a dumb person, but he was very, very focused on God. So no, as a deer, he didn't make it, but at Jad Bharat, he made it back to Godhead.
But you have the example of Gajendra. Again, because he meditated on the Lord towards the end. He went back to spiritual world from that body.
It's very rare, very rare.
I see. How can you eternally stay with the Lord and not go to heaven? What do you have to do?
Remembering him. We'll talk about the 9 processes next week, and you'll see how each process, there is one personality who's completely perfected his life by focusing on one of the processes, one aspect, one process, right? So any of those 9 will connect us with the Lord.
Is Arjun an incarnation of anybody?
As Narayan Rishi, Nar is Arjun, Narayan is the Lord. So in one sense, he is, but actually he isn't, because he's a devotee of the Lord. So he's
an
eternal associate of the Lord. Yeah, nice one.
Who would you look to if you needed to learn yoga?
I would focus on Prabhupada. He's the one who's taught us Bhakti Yoga. You mean a living person?
Yes.
Of course, Prabhupada is living through his books, and he's living in the spiritual world. He was always guiding us. A spiritual master, a guru. And that's the best. If you want to connect with the Lord, then you can connect through a guru, a spiritual master. And in due course of time, if your desires are strong enough, then the Lord will create a situation where he will send a guru to you.
I see.
Spiritual master, yeah.
Will Krishna come to earth before he destroys everything?
Remember, he's always with us, right? As Paramatma. He's never far away, always with us. And before he destroys this material world, which is a long way to go yet, right? It doesn't happen for many, many trillions of life, trillions of years. But when it does happen, we go back. If we're still in this world with material desires, we'll go back into the body of Mahavishnu. So we'll still be protected within the Lord's body. But then when the next creation starts, he's let us out again to continue with fulfilling our material desires.
And last question.
Go on, yeah.
What title do you give demigods?
Devatas, they're devotees.
Like, if, let's say, I was addressing them, would I go like Lordindra, or would I just say Indra?
Lordindra is good. It's respectful, because he's a lord with a small L, if you like. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or they're gods with the small g.
it's
Demigods.
gods with the small g. But always, always treat them with great respect. We have great respect for the Devatas, but we worship only the Supreme Lord. But we don't neglect the Devatas. They're very sweet. And they can guide us as well. If we ask them, please guide us how to remember the Lord, how to worship the Lord. They're also worshiping the Lord. But sometimes they have a bit of an ulterior motive. That's because they like power. You know? That's why they're Devatas. God has given them power to administer the universe. Why? Because that's what they wanted. They wanted power, isn't it? They're mixed devotees. They're not completely pure, but they're also devotees. So we treat them like devotees.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Fantastic questions. Well done. Okay, unless there's any other questions, let's go to Pari, you can share your screen. And everybody can join. It's quiz IZZ, and the password is passcode is 639752. So please do join.
Those questions were so good.
We've got quite a few already. Good. Anybody left to join? Otherwise, we'll start the quiz. Okay, you can start.
Okay, Prabhuji. So this one is on the this one is on the last week's topic, which was the 3 aspects of Godhead. How many types of realizations are there? 2, 3, 4, 5. Three is correct. What can the name Krishna be substituted by? Vishnu, Ram, Narasimha, or all of the above? Oh, everyone's done again. So the correct answer was all of the above, which I'm sure everyone got. Looking at the sun analogy, which realization would the sunshine represent? Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, or none? Sorry, not Brahman, Brahman. One more person. So everyone who said Brahman was correct. The Brahman concept is incomplete. True or false? Five people, 4 people, 3 people left to answer. Many of us said true, which was correct. So the Brahman in concept is incomplete because the Brahman is only the effulgence of the Lord. The Brahman source is the Lord. It is a part of God, not the form, not the form, or all of the above. One person left. Oh, time up. But it was actually all of the above. So I think majority selected that as well. Using the sun analogy again, what does the Paramatma represent? Sunshine, the heat of the sun's surface, or the planet itself? Oh, so it was actually sun's surface because Brahman was a sunshine. But that's fine. Well done to the people. Two people left, one person left to answer. So it was true. As Paramatma has expanded to be with us. Unlike Brahman, Paramatma is a complete concept. True or false, I believe? Yeah. Oh, I thought this was going to be a tricky question, but most of everyone got it right. Like most of the people got it right. It was actually false. Both
Well
of them.
done.
Referring to the sun analogy, or all combined. One person, and majority said Bhagavan, which is Lord Krishna equals the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which equals Bhagavan. Correct. Most of participants selected true. All three realizations stem from the absolute truth, which is Lord Krishna, but the best realization to have is of Paramatma, Brahman, or Bhagavan. Which one? So, correct. Majority selected Bhagavan, which
Wow. Let's see. How did people do?
well done, everyone.
Thank you, Pari.
Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Pari.
No,
Nice quiz. Very good.
once I understood it, it was actually easy to make. I thought it was going to be really hard at first.
Thank you very, very much. This is one of the most amazing things about doing this, because you have to apply yourself, which is great.
I went back
We
to
learn so much.
recording. Yeah, I went back to listen to the recording. It was so much more helpful than the actual slides.
Oh dear. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you, Bakula Ben. Thank you, Priti. Thank you, Ishwari Kishwari, Veda.